I can see you.
Right. Hello, everybody. I think we're there now. Welcome to the launch of my new book, More Than You Think. So I'm sitting here. It feels a bit like I'm about to fly a plane because I have got controls and screens, and this is the first time that I've sat here and done anything like this. And a few weeks ago, I couldn't have imagined that I would be here. But thank you for tuning in, if that's what you're doing, especially if you're here live. And hopefully you've got the right link and you're all with us. Otherwise, you're seeing this as a recording. But welcome. So I'd love this to be interactive. I've got Jack here in the background. He is going to be monitoring the chat. So if you do have any questions, then please do. Please. Oh, hang on a sec.
Caroline?
Yes?
The link's wrong.
The link's wrong.
The link is wrong. Steve cannot see it. He's still seeing the original, the test.
Right. Thank you. Okay. What shall I do, Jack?
I mean, I don't know.
This is a lovely example of the 3 principles in action.
Send out a message. Get into MailChimp. Send a message to your mailing list with the correct link. Get someone to put a link, as Sarah suggested, underneath the video with a comment, or edit the current YouTube, the old YouTube, with the new link.
Yes, I think that's probably the best way. My techie is having a look at it now as we speak. I don't know whether to keep going.
There's no point. No one can hear you apart from us.
There are 7 people watching the live stream.
Well, they might be...
Steve is watching the live stream downstairs.
So the test earlier was a great idea, but...
I don't even know how to get.
Not well executed.
I don't even know how to get to the test. All the links I have go to the right place.
Right.
Wait.
The link is talking to me. The link is taking me to the test video. That's Laura.
Damn it.
Yes. Right. Sorry, guys.
Is your other flowers on your left or your right, Caroline?
They're on my left.
Oh, that's interesting, because YouTube is a mirror image.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it's very strange. And it's slightly behind Zoom.
Yes, it is. It is behind Zoom. Quite right. Yeah. There's Jack in 2 places at one time. Oh, he's done so well to get it to this stage. It's such a shame that it's currently looping round that test.
The old link Deb's using is sending her to the right place. It's sending her to the live stream. It's live right now.
Well, everybody else is
But I
so.
don't know where to find the old link to send me to the wrong place because all the old links I have send me to the right place.
Well, in that case, I have. You know, I
Did
said
you
I
send
thought
out the wrong
Well, I must have done. But I sent out the link obviously to the one that people are seeing to the test.
Where's that link? Where can I find
It's
it?
on everywhere.
Is it MailChimp? Because it's not on Facebook.
It would be MailChimp, and Facebook.
Caroline,
Yeah.
can someone turn comments on the video on YouTube?
Oh look, I've got people joining. Hang on a tick. On the comments on YouTube.
Yeah, because then we can pop a link in there, and you need to change. You need to pop a link on that. The one that's looping, the test one,
Are you able
to come to the
hear
other
this,
one,
Jack?
to come to the new one.
Don't think you can turn on comments, but I'm not sure.
Well, we said we would take comments, didn't we, or chat?
Yeah,
the
there's
comments.
a live chat.
Yeah.
There's not comments. I don't know.
Can we
how to
put
turn
it in the
comments
live
on.
chat?
Yeah, just pop it. Turn whatever you need to turn on in order to have a conversation with people on the link that they're all watching, which is the looped one, with the link to come to this one.
Jack is, the trouble is, I
Right.
think that, right.
It's the MailChimp that's wrong. That's the one. It's now in the comments.
So when shall I start?
How about trying now?
That's what I was going to say.
Oh, hello, Dave.
Hi, Caroline. This is exciting.
It is very exciting. Okay, so Jack, do you reckon I should start?
Give me 1 second and then you should.
And am I going to press record?
You can do.
So we can pretend that the beginning never happened because we're only recording the good stuff.
Okay, there's now a comment that sends you to the right place
Right.
underneath the old video.
Okay, so I'm going to start. Okay, I've pressed record, and this is the second welcome now to the live stream book launch of my new book, and only book at the moment, More Than You Think. Seeing the magic that lies behind our personal thinking. Yes. So welcome everybody. Thank you. Love to see all of those in the Zoom shaking their copies at me. It's lovely to see you all on the Zoom. Of course, I can't see you on the YouTube, but welcome to the launch and to the celebration of the launch. This is hopefully going to be interactive, so if you have any questions, then if you can pop them in to the chat, and Jack will send me questions as appropriate, and I'll answer them when I can. Of course, we are starting this a little later than anticipated. All these great things have technical issues, and so we're a little later. So we'll see how we get on. So I just want to introduce you to those people, if you like, the team that are with me, and they're on the Zoom. So if you can all unmute yourselves, or if Jack can unmute you and you can just say hi, I'll just sort of whiz along and introduce you to a few people. First person I want to introduce you to is Sarah O'Donnell, who is the book editor. So we'll be having a conversation with Sarah in a little while. But, where's she disappeared to? There she is. Hello, Sarah. Hi. And the second person I just want to introduce you to is Jan Biggs. And hello, Jan. We'll be seeing a video of Jan and Belfield House shortly. Then I'd lovely just to say hello to the lovely Linda Parkinson Hardman, and we will be having a conversation with Linda a little bit later as well. And then we can say hello to the family. Hello, family.
Hi.
And they will be there in the background. We might not give them the opportunity to say too much because they'll be noisy. Could you all mute yourselves, please? Oh, did I say hello to Liz and Stu? No, I didn't. Sorry, you had disappeared. This is Liz and Stu, and we will definitely be talking to them later. You'll see how important they have been to this particular journey. So I've decided to do this as... Who's making that terrible noise? Lovely. Decided to do this as a...
Mum, you've just muted you. Yeah, you just need to unmute yourself.
Right. Is that better?
Yeah.
Thank you. So I'm doing this really as a book of the writing of the book. So I've separated it into chapters, and chapter 1 is called Planting the Seed. I'm watching that as it comes as it comes across. The seed for writing the book was planted in, I think, probably about 1987. I was working for Ginsters. I had a wonderful career with Ginsters in HR. Let me just share with you a wonderful photograph. Jack, how do I get my... Oh, there it is. I hope you can see this. This is the A-team of Ginsters in 1990. We did a significant cultural change, and I had a wonderful opportunity to work with Charles Handy and also with Ashridge Management Consultants. And our chairman wanted us to be the best company in the UK to work for. So we were really at the cutting edge. And it was in about 1987 that Dennis Kearney, our MD at the time, put his arm round me and said, Caroline, you should really think about writing a book about what we're doing. So the seed, as I say, was planted at that point. But Dennis left, and he was replaced by an MD whose, shall we say, whose mindset was completely different. And very quickly after that, I was made redundant. And of course, the thing about seeds is that they need fertile ground. So the second chapter in this story of the book is called Seeds Need Fertile Ground. I spent 17 years from, shall we say, from a creative perspective, being in infertile ground. But during this time, I brought up my wonderful family. So I had some intense moments of joy interspersed with some fairly troubling and dark periods as I was very busy running my own company and searching for meaning and purpose in my life. And I'm sure there's a number of you out there that can identify with that search. But about 5 years ago, I started to hear a new and fresh message. So that's chapter 3, hearing something fresh and new. And that was really because of working with Stuart and Liz, in particular Liz in her coaching business. So Liz, can you just wave at or unmute yourself and wave at the camera so we can see you? Let me just find that arrow. Nope. I've lost them. There they are. There they are.
Hello.
Hello.
Sorry, we've been having technical problems, but we're here now.
Oh, you've got technical problems. Welcome to the party. There might be a theme going on here. But yes, so it was through some excellent events that Stuart and Liz organised through Coaching Connect that I really began hearing something new and fresh. And it was in 2015 that they organised an event in Exeter, and I met Piers Thurston for the first time. We did a sort of beauty parade, if you remember, of trainers in the 3 principles. And I made a decision at that time to go with Piers, and in the January 2016 I attended Piers's retreat, and that's when I noticed some significant realizations starting to land for me. And I saw that I was creating my own experience, and that I was what I would call now a serial overthinker, and I was getting in what I call, the term I use is, I was getting in my own way, which had been holding me back. So I went on the retreat with Piers in January. And then I had a meeting with a client, a corporate client, large organisation, in the late January. And I was determined at that point, although I knew I wanted to share the principles, I was determined not to talk about them because I had no idea how to explain what I was now seeing. So I went along to this meeting, and Sue, I don't know whether Sue Cam is listening. She was hoping to tune in. She started to talk about the team that she was working with and how they were struggling to deliver a corporate project. And before I knew what was happening, I opened my mouth and out came how an understanding of the quality of mind, aka the 3 principles, would help the team significantly to deliver the project. It was one of those almost out-of-body experiences where I thought, who on earth is talking? And I realised that it was me. And she said, I would like you to run a workshop for this team. So I came out, rang Piers, and that June in 2016 we were running the first corporate event. Also, very quickly, hot on the heels of that, I bumped into Jan, who we're going to be seeing in a little while. and we were walking our dogs. I hadn't met Jan before, although I knew who she was. And we talked about the possibility of running some retreats. And I'm now going to share with you the video that Jan and I made recently. So if you hold fire. I just want to introduce you to someone and somewhere that have been crucial in the retreats that we run and in supporting and encouraging me to share the inside out principles with the community. This is Belfield House, and this is Jan.
Hello, welcome. Come on up. So, welcome to Belfield.
Thank you.
Come on in.
Okay, Jan, I wonder if you could just share with us why you think Belfield House makes the perfect backdrop for the retreats.
I think there's a number of things that make Belfield a brilliant place to just come and take stock in your life. It's a slightly different environment to what most people are used to, but there's something about it that just exudes peacefulness from its walls. One of the things that attracted me to living here was the house has got brilliant history from an abolitionist and also a social reformer, and there's something about that good intent that seems to leak out to the walls, and it's a very welcoming home, I hope.
Okay, Jan, a question I've always wanted to ask. Why did you spontaneously offer Belfield as a possible venue for the retreats when we'd only just met?
It was one of those unusual occasions where I just met this lovely lady called Caroline. We'd been out walking our dogs and she asked me a question, and with no resistance it felt like the only thing to say was yes. It just felt like something wonderful could happen. So Dino is one of the crew at the retreats, and he is the most zen dog on the planet, follows people around to the various little cosy places to sit and just chills.
There are some lovely spots in the garden that we do one-to-ones in, and this is my favourite. Jan, just a question now. We've done 12 retreats. We've had to cancel 3 because of coronavirus, but you've been in the room for most of those. What is it that that you get from the retreats?
Well, across time that has changed. In the first few retreats, I was very much absorbed in having my little journey of starting to see some of the insights and the benefits of the understanding. Now, being there, watching other people have those experiences is the greatest pleasure. And one of the things that I often do at the beginning of the course is welcome people to Belfield, make sure they feel at home so they can relax into their experience. And I tell them that at the beginning we often sit there with a bit of anxiety about what's going to happen and perhaps being unsure about what these next few days are going to hold. But I assure them that by the lunchtime when we're finishing the course, all they'll feel is love.
Oh,
Yeah.
lovely. Okay, so for those of you on the call who have attended one of the retreats at Belfield, then you'll really identify with that beautiful video and with the environment that we think is so important for those retreats. So thank you, Jan, for sharing your wonderful home with us for that environment, and yeah, everybody really appreciates it.
Everybody's very welcome.
Thank you. Okay, so our next chapter is fertile ground. So having had this amazing few years of running retreats and running corporate workshops, it suddenly became obvious that there was suddenly a significant set of stories to draw on. And I just want to share this graph with you. We ask people who come on the retreat 15 questions before they come on the retreat, and those same questions, 15 questions afterwards. And you can see from this graph how different people are post-retreat. In particular, the significant difference is on the amount that people say that they dwell on stuff and the mental noise that they have going on for them. So people leave the retreat feeling much calmer, much less stressed, and with more energy. And it's that understanding that is driving that, not because they've been on the retreat, but because they're seeing for themselves, having realizations for themselves about how the mind works. That's what we're sharing. So this was fertile ground, and in 2018 I came across Michael Neill's course, Creating the Impossible. And in the introduction of that, he asks you to think of something that is impossible. And for me, two things sprang to mind. That was to win the Toastmasters Public Speaking World Championships. And the second thing that came to mind was writing a book. So I thought, well, they're two pretty significant things. Let's put them together and write a book about winning the World Championships public speaking. So, of course, as you might imagine, the first action is to take part in contests. And up until that moment, I had been avoiding contests like the plague. But from 2018, I took part in every contest that was going and actually got through to the district finals of the humorous speech contest and the divisional finals of the international speech contest. But also at the same time, I noticed or came across Elsie Spittle's webinar course, and I signed up for that. It was 6 months later, but just the signing up of that, suddenly I felt inspired to start writing. And I wrote for the whole of the summer of 2018. In the February 2019 was when I was ready to at least put it out there to friends, trusted friends, to have a look. And I noticed that serendipity and coincidence really took over at that point. It snowed on the weekend that I sent it to Kath. And I know that Kath is either on YouTube or will be listening to this at some point. And she was snowed in, so had nothing to do other than read the book. And at that point, she said, well, there's something, you've got something here. Would you like me to introduce you to a friend of mine, Sarah O'Donnell, who is an editor? And I jumped at that opportunity. So we come to the next chapter in the book, and that is shaping the message. And there's our Sarah. Sarah, if you could unmute, thank you. And I'm going to pin you so that we all get to see you. Sarah, could you just tell us a little bit about the process that the rather, it would be fair to say, tortuous process that you and I went on to edit the book?
Yeah. Hi everyone, I'm Sarah O'Donnell. I've been a writer, editor and learning designer for about 30 years. And when Kath put me in touch with Caroline, it was again serendipitous, because I was feeling really jaded about the work that I did, and a dream I'd always had would be to either to move into copy editing books. And this email came out of the blue. I thought it was extremely interesting. I arranged to meet Caroline in the New Forest, and we instantly hit it off. And I could tell how passionate she was about this message that she really wanted to share with so many more people. But also equally how humble she was about her own writing abilities, and she was reaching out for some help. And I thought, this is the perfect opportunity to move into something I'm really keen on doing, and I was fully engaged with the ideas. After we met, Caroline was already rethinking the structure and approach of her book. That might have been slightly inspired by our conversation, but I think it was more to do with a phenomenon I began to see more frequently, which was Caroline got these amazing, powerful insights at regular intervals with perfect timing, usually. And even before you were sort of vocalizing feedback, she'd be saying, I've had another insight and this is the way I can see it now, which was brilliant. She then invited me to the next retreat at Belfield House, which was a great opportunity to find out more about the 3 principles and meet some of the many people that have played a key part in her journey. We moved on to the introduction, we revised that. I remember exchanging some emails with Caroline, and she wrote this great quote which stuck with me to the end of the journey, which was, ultimately, I know that I want to share the stories in some way, big or small, and I'm certain that working with you will enable me to learn and grow through the process as well as enjoying it. It also means I can produce something in the end that I can be proud of. And that was to basically set the standard for what followed. I won't go into huge detail about all the different drafts, but what was interesting was that we would continue to work, and then we would meet, and then there'd be more insights. We had a brilliant walking meeting on a blisteringly hot day in the New Forest, and that really tipped it, I think. Caroline went home and started to restructure the book, parts of the book, and reshape the message, focusing more on the personal than the intellectual. And the result was a much more powerful draft. And it's about this time I began to realize that I had multiple roles as an editor. I wasn't just there for some of the things skills I'd employed in the past, grammar, spelling, flow. I was also there as a bit of a coach to guide Caroline to find a way of expressing the message she wanted as clearly as possible. It was never my role to do the writing for her. And I firmly believe that it's important for every author to write in their own voice. So, right, and towards the autumn, we were getting closer with the draft. One thing that was really important in this process and led to more fresh insights was getting honest, constructive feedback from friends and family. And I know Caroline has always appreciated that. I think one of the interesting things is that even if someone's feedback doesn't, you don't always implement it exactly, that feedback can trigger even more powerful, fresh insights that lead you to going where you want to go. And as we approached Christmas, we were getting closer and closer. During the autumn, we also began to create a layout for the book. And I was now exploring territory that was new to me. And I was really honest about this with Caroline. And she said, no, I'd like you to continue the journey with me. And I'm so glad she did, because I've learned so much as well. Formatting and moving into printing was a whole different chapter. And sometimes when you're working on a book, you think the vast majority of the time is that developmental editing. I don't think it is. I think it's the 80-20 part towards the end, when you seem to have 1,000,001 things to do and somehow you get through them. And I think it's a tribute to Caroline's amazing patience and understanding that she maintained her temper throughout that period. when technical issues and printers and all sorts of things were throwing hurdles in our way. One thing I want to pick out was when my colleague Jim O'Donnell helped Caroline to buy the ISBN number for her book, and she was so excited. It was wonderful. I almost think she was more excited about the ISBN number than anything that followed, because it was like this amazing milestone. So yeah, I think that's it in a nutshell. But what I would like to say is, throughout, and particularly when things started getting difficult and technical, what I loved was that Caroline was always willing to embrace new challenges. We were always happy to support, but she was determined to learn how to do everything, and has learned to do it, and much more. And I think it's been a learning curve for all of us. And I've been so personally excited to see the ebook published, and now finally received the hard copy a few weeks ago. And I absolutely agree with that Caroline's original quote about learning and growing through the process. And I'll wrap up with a final personal comment, and something I've said to Caroline many times. Excuse me. I must have read Caroline's book 100 times at least, maybe more. And as an editor, sometimes you get blind to what you're reading. But I can honestly say that each time I've read it, I've gained fresh insights, and it's supported me on the journey too. And it's been a genuine pleasure. So thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. That's amazing. It really has been a journey, and I love the fact that you pointed out there, well, a couple of really key things, that insights just flow, and I've loved that. I've learnt so much, and just having that opportunity to work with you in that learning process. And the other thing that I think you really pointed out there was the tussle that I've always had with my intellect, and it still comes along from time to time, and rattles the old cage. So it's been a brilliant process, and I just want to say thank you very much, Sarah, for all your patience and support as we've gone through it. So that takes us on to the next book chapter, which is about getting the message out there. It's one thing to write a book, it's another thing to edit a book, but my word, it's another thing altogether to market it, and to create things like YouTube channels, and going live, and newsletters. And for that, I'd like to introduce Linda, wherever Linda is. Linda, if you could unmute, and then I can pin you.
I'm unmuted.
You're unmuted, and I'm going to pin you. Linda, welcome to the process. We've been friends for a dozen years. You were a natural selection for when I was thinking about who would write the foreword, because you have attended 3 of the retreats and you have seen me personally in some darker times, particularly at Toastmasters, when I certainly didn't want to put my self forward for any competitions. And then you've seen me in these last few years. So Linda, just would you share with the audience something about yourself and about how you've been involved in this process?
That's quite a big question, actually. You know, and I could go on for hours because, you know, I usually do, don't I? I think it would be fair to say that, following on from what Sarah has said, once you, Caroline, realise the enormity of the task ahead of you, you did actually just jump in with both feet.
Yeah.
And that's the only way to do this type of activity, because it's all very well to stand on the sidelines and wave your arms and watch what everybody else is doing. But marketing is about learning to speak the language of the people that you want to reach. Because you and I have had this conversation many times, and it basically goes down to a very simple sentence, and that is, it's not about you. So, and that's a bit of a juxtaposition, isn't it? Because of course the book is absolutely about you, but when it comes to getting it into the hands of some sort of reading public, it's not about you. It can't be about you. It always has to be about the other. And that's one of the things that I've spotted, if you like, in the work that you're doing around this and the 3 principles, is that those 2 things actually sit alongside each other really well. Because 3 principles isn't just about understanding who you are in the context of the thinking, for instance, that you have, or who you are in the bigger context around the reality that we create for ourselves and that we then launch ourselves into. It also gives you a lot more compassion, understanding, and love for other people. And I think you've brought that understanding into the marketing that you've been doing. So for me, sort of talking to you about marketing a book, it's been a fascinating journey, because it's forced me to reassess the sorts of things that I do, because I write and I've got books and I do lots of marketing and stuff like that. And it has actually caused me to rethink things and change some of the way in which I approach the world and the conversation that I have with other people.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. How amazing is that?
That is amazing. And I love what you say, or what you're saying there. Because it is that we are sharing. We have to share this from the perspective of realizations and insights that we're having to and look to enable other people to have those insights and realizations. And we can't say when that's going to happen.
No, and that's the thing about it, isn't it? You know, an insight is a very personal experience.
Completely.
So you're constantly pointing in a direction of some sort of truth, but the point at which someone sees that for themselves is going to be down to who they are, where they are, their experience of life around them. And I think it's really important that you keep that someone who is marketing a book like this keeps that in mind, because it would be very easy to slip into the this book will change your life.
Yeah.
Because frankly, you have no idea whether that's going to happen.
Absolutely.
So keeping it real,
Yeah.
at both sides, from your side and the reading public side as well, is really important.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's been fascinating for me to, if you like, to have that slight struggle, because as you say, you quite rightly point out, the sort of the technical way of marketing it would be to shout out that this will change your life. But yeah, I've no idea, and I have to own that and be honest. But that in itself is lovely, because I can just put the message out there, or we can just put the message out there, and then it's down to the individual themselves as to when they get it.
Well, what you're doing is you're inviting the reader to see their own power.
Yes.
And
Absolutely.
to step into their own space of being a powerful creator of their reality, instead of saying that you're the creator of their reality.
Absolutely. And that obviously gives me the opportunity just to put the message out there without any ownership of how it is received. And funnily enough, that has made actually marketing it, or doing what I'm doing so far, so much easier than I could have ever imagined. But it's been lovely. It's superb to have you there as my mentor as we go through this process of putting it out there. So
you're very welcome. And it's actually, it also helps that you're having fun with it.
Well, yeah. Perhaps ask me that again after we finish this.
I'll do that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So that brings us on to the next chapter. There we go, the next chapter. Liz and Stu, I don't know whether you can both unmute or whether... Hello. Oh, I can probably only pin one of you. Or I tell you what, if I don't pin, maybe if you both speak, you'll come up in at different times. But I wanted to invite you into this next chapter. You could have come obviously much earlier at the listening to or hearing something new and fresh, because you were undoubtedly the conduit through which I heard this in the very first place. So thank you for your role in that. But we co-facilitate the retreats at Belfield. We are very much looking forward to at some point getting back and restarting those. We particularly, I know, love the working with the young people. But I just wondered if you could share with the audience what you've been doing during lockdown and where you are taking your sharing of this understanding, because you've got some very exciting things going on.
Yes, and it's been an interesting time really with lockdown, and one of the things we've noticed in particular has been in our local community. So we live in Devon, right on the edge of Dartmoor, at a place called Ivy Bridge, and our local community is about 12,000 people who live there. And one of the things that we've been really inspired by is mental well-being. And so it really is very much the theme of your book, Caroline, and the work that we're doing as well, is looking very much at this often the overlooked understanding of how we operate psychologically, and how when we overlook that, we can inadvertently cause ourselves a lot of mental distress. And so it's kind of come together in the community. Before we went into lockdown, we went out in the community, we were meeting community groups and social prescribers, community connectors, that kind of thing, and seeing what was happening with well-being in our local community. And then since lockdown, what we've been doing is we've gone online and we've developed something, and it's evolved actually, a bit like your book evolved along the way. What's evolved is we've started running online trainings called Wellbeing Listener Trainings, specifically for people in our community. But of course, because we can deliver them online, we've been able to attract people from actually, we've had somebody from Switzerland, 2 people from Switzerland join us. Wow. who heard about it and decided they'd like to come on the training as well. And I guess that the message, or the 2 messages that we think is very different than maybe traditionally people hear about well-being, is firstly, well-being is constant. It's like the essence, it's the core of who we truly are. That's the nature of what we're talking about when we talk about well-being. And the second thing that people often misunderstand is that although well-being can get covered over with like the weather system of your moods and thoughts and feelings and beliefs, it can never actually be damaged. And so what often happens when people are involved in conversations with each other is that they try and fix the weather system of thoughts, feelings and moods. Whereas what we say with well-being listeners is, no, that's the wrong place to start. The biggest effect you can have is by listening for well-being in the person that's talking, because what they've just done is they just temporarily overlooked it. And when you shine a light on well-being in someone else, it just naturally ignites. So that, in a nutshell, is the work that we're engaging with in our community, and it's been really well received, so much so that our community connector here is wanting the work to be very much part of the strategic plan moving forward in the recovery stage of COVID. So we're really hopeful that we will be one of the many organisations and people in our local community that are really actively supporting that mental well-being in our community as we move forward. So in a nutshell, that's what we're up to, and we're having a bit of a blast, if I'm honest.
Lovely, absolutely. And I think we're all having a blast in terms of sharing this understanding, because of the value that it brings to those people that hear the message. So thank you. Stu, is there anything that you'd like to add, or just lovely to see your face there?
Thank you. Thank you for inviting us to this. Oh, it's like a party, isn't it?
That's the idea.
Yeah, it's lovely. And I look forward to the drinks shortly. Thank you. We're having a fascinating time, actually, meeting some wonderful people in our community. And what we've seen is that there are so many really good people that are doing a lot of good work. This is just one community, and this is happening all over the country. And actually, what the way I would describe it is that in the way that when we work with an individual, we're looking beyond the stories to look at what's already there, what's already present in abundance, the resilience and resourcefulness. You know, we talk about peace, love, and wisdom. That's what we're looking to see, and when we point that out to the individual, and they really see that for themselves, then whatever confronted them before is looking different. And what we're doing with the community is something very similar. So we're pointing to the resourcefulness, the resilience that is already present within our community, and shining a light on that. And actually, when other people in the community get to see that and experience that for themselves, then just things look different again. There's much more collaboration, connection, and real hope. So yeah, that's what I'm seeing really in the work that we're doing now locally.
Lovely. Thank you, Stu. And that's such a good place really to close the book in terms of the story of writing the book, because it really is a very hopeful message, and I hope that's what you have picked up from listening to us talking about it, that it is a very different message from the traditional approaches and the traditional perspective. So we move in now really to the final few minutes, at which I sort of say, if you're interested or intrigued by what you've heard, then please do pick up the book, and you'll be able to follow a link within the YouTube information that will take you to how you can buy the book. But even more importantly at the moment is that I'm going to be running a free workshop. If you've heard something on this particular YouTube event this evening that you think, that sounds intriguing, I'd like to know some more before I actually pick up and buy the book, then on the 16th of July I'm running a free workshop, and everyone who's on this call can follow the link again in the YouTube information and join that free webinar, and that'll put even more context to the messages that I'm sharing in the book. And of course, follow me on social media and via the website to hear some more information about the inside out principles and how the mind actually works. So I'm just wondering about throwing it open. I don't know whether we've got any questions. I'm just going to check with my technical support. No questions. That's possibly because there's nobody listening to this live because of the slight technical issues at the beginning. But hopefully we'll be able to put out the recording, because I have recorded it, and encourage people to follow from that. Now, because of age restrictions on YouTube, I'm afraid that I've had to downplay the champagne and the. I know you're all horribly disappointed about that, but to have it open, we had to say that there was no alcohol being consumed. So as soon as this goes off, I am hitting the champagne in some. Oh, thank you, Liz. Liz has got her cup of tea. I've got my water, which will be swiftly replaced by something else. But what I'd love to do is for everybody on Zoom to unmute themselves and to just say hi and make lots of noise as we launch the book out into the world with that hopeful message that that we are all more than we think, and there's something really healthy and wise and resilient within us all.
Could you repeat the date of the webinar, please, Caroline?
Yes, Dave, it's on the 16th of July. And I can send you the link.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll see you there. Thanks, everyone. Thank you so much.
Caroline.
And a special thanks to, oh my goodness, that's the dogs barking because they don't know what's going on. A special thanks to my technical, if he can come, there he is.
Hey, well done.
Well done, Jack.
And yeah. Yes.
Hi, Nick.
Well, hopefully
Hi, Nick.
we'll all be getting back together again very
hope so.
soon.
Yeah.
That would be lovely.
Looking forward to a coffee morning soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Lovely. Thank you so much, everybody.
Bye, then,
Buy
Karen.
the book. Buy the book.
Buy the book. Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Well done.